How's it going, guys? So I uploaded a video for should you pull immune, and hence this one will be the second video for this banner. Yes, I know it's really rare, but it is what it is. So this time the focus is definitely going to be on Exia, the new Covenant, or I'll just call her Exia Alta from now on. But this is definitely the key operator, like unlike back in the days where the standard banner the standard operator is more valuable than limited operator. This is definitely not the case this time, in my opinion. Yes, I am a bit biased because Exia is definitely my favorite operator in the game, but there is a lot more to it than just that and the raw damage and whatnot. There's actually a lot that I want to talk about in this video. So without further to say, let's begin with why I highly recommend everyone to pull Exia Alta. So first of all, let's take a look at her kit, right? Exia is a geek. Exia Alta is a geek. And they actually changed the trait for them this time around. So back then they lose I think 3% HP per second, and they can actually bleed to death. Now they've changed it to 1% HP reduction per second, and they will actually not bleed to death. So great change to see. So you can also, if you had Arc, you can also see that Exia Alta definitely has higher base attack. That makes her much better in my opinion, especially when she's actually more focused damage as of right now, especially her skill 2. So that is her trait. Now let's take a look at her module as well. So her module gives her a trait that when she has more than 80% HP, her SP region will increase by 0.25 per second. That is actually really huge as well. Oh, and of course I will be talking about her with module level 3 assumed, because definitely you do want to have module level 3s with on your top operators, right? I know that a lot of beginners might not be the richest on their module resources, but I think it's definitely worth it to invest module level 3 on Exia Alta. Her first talent is that when she's on the field, whenever there is an allied operator that uses the ammo, she will recover, Exia Alta will recover 6% of her max HP, and there is a up to 35% chance to immediately bombard an enemy within that operator, the one that consumed the ammo, bombard an enemy within that area and deal 185% of Exia Alta's attack as physical splash damage, so AoE damage. Now, this is a explosion with a radius of 1.3 tiles, and there is a 0.1 second gap between multiple explosions if there are multiple of them at the same time. If the skill that is using ammo uses multiple ammos per attack, then it will actually do the explosion according to how many ammo is used instead of how many attacks has been attempted. And if you have skills that can save ammo, like, Chen Alter, then that still counts, because that talent works more like you're still consuming, but it will regen one more ammo for you. So even if you save an ammo, it will still generate this explosion by 35% chance, which is a very strong skill in my opinion. This gives her a good survivability, because 6% max HP is still pretty significant, especially considering that she deals quite a bit of damage with her skill 2, and her attack speed is quite significant with her skill 2 and skill 3, so that actually allows her to to consume ammo pretty frequently, and that gives her quite a bit of survivability when it comes to HP regen, and also deals AoE damage. So even though her skill 2 and skill 3 are more focused on single target damages, this talent gives her the ability to do AoE damage as well. So a really great talent in my opinion. Her second talent is that when she's on the field, all operators with ammo skills will gain plus up to 13% attack, and that will be doubled for Laterano operators. So really basic talent in my opinion, but also really powerful. Just gives her 26% more attack, just pretty great in general. So yeah, also a great talent. So that is the base kit for Exia Alta. Now let's take a look at her skills. Exia Alta skill 1 is a automatically triggered skill, and once upon triggered, she will gain a skill bar of 8 ammo. So there's a ammo base skill, And every time she attacks, she will deal up to 250% of her attack as physical damage, prioritizes aerial units, and if you actively end the skill, it will try to use all the remaining ammo on enemies that are within her attack area. Now, if there is no enemies within her attack area before, and she still has ammo left, that will actually not end the skill, and that state of automatically emptying all ammo will end, and she will just wait for more enemies to come in with her ammo still there. So it's not like instant finish all ammo. There's actually a time period that she needs to take to empty out her ammo. So this is a very simple looking skill. It feels like it's supposed to be an AFK skill, but the fact that you do want to manually end her skill for the most amount of damage, which kind of makes it not so good for AFK. And yeah, in general, I wouldn't recommend you to M3 this skill. I M3 this skill just because I really like Extra Alter, and I would suggest most of you not to do the same. Next, we have skill 2. Upon activation, Extra Alter will immediately steal up to 70 attack speed from a allied operator within her attack area. So the stealing is 2 parts. It's increasing her attack speed and then decreasing the allies' attack speed. And this target is selected by the taunt level. So operators like Minar will obviously be prioritized, and if there is no operator that has taunt, then it will be the last operator that is deployed. So there is some things that you can play around with this skill, like using this and then taking attack speed from, let's say, Mr. Nothing, and you can get Mr. Nothing to perma-stall easily. It's one interesting way of using it. And even if you don't want to do something like finicky around that, you can use it still on operators like Minar when his skill is not up, and then taking some of his attack speed away doesn't really matter for him. Now, the second part of the effect is that Extra Alter and the target that she steals attack speed from will gain up to 250% of Extra Alter's HP as barrier. The barrier will decrease over time, so over 30 seconds. So it's like a gradual decrease, steady decrease over 30 seconds. So the decreased speed is the maximum amount of shield applied divided by 30 seconds. If you do the calculation, you can see how much shield will be decreasing per second. So what this does is, if you use it on Minar, you can let him tank, because Minar will taunt enemies, and then this barrier will help him to tank more enemies more easily, which is very nice. You can also do this for defenders to make sure that they will just get one-shotted by some enemies nowadays. Some enemies can do so that is really nice. The best thing about this skill is that it's only 4 seconds to activate upon deployment, so you can actually use this in a lot of situations if you're in a hurry. That's really nice as well. Now, every time she deals damage, she will deal up to 300% of her attack as physical damage, and this skill has 35 ammos, and if she successfully steals attack speed, then she will gain 5 more ammos, so that brings it to 40 ammos in total. So this skill is actually very powerful damage wise. We have a lot of operators that that has high attack speed, and they're really great to be buffed, right? Like the old Exia, where if you buff her skill 3, she will deal a ton of damage because she scales really well with getting more base attack. This is basically that, but she also has over 3,000 damage per hit, which means for most enemies that have like 2,000 defense, it doesn't bother her at all. And I would say that is probably the highest that we have out of all of this type of operators, like Ella skill 3 or Narantuya skill 3, those kind of operators. Extra is probably has the highest attack per hit, damage per hit, and that means that even if you use her without attack buffs, she will still perform really great. She also has up to 160k total damage from skill 2, and her attack damage per second is like well over 10,000 damage per second. So high attack speed, high damage per hit, high DPS, and high total damage, and high shield. So this skill is just an all-rounder. Survivability, damage, long-term damage, and because it is an ammo-based skill, you can choose to end the skill whenever you want, so it's also really easy to use. 30 SP requirement is actually way lower, like much lower to cooldown, because she has the plus 0.25 SP regen per second. That makes her skill rotation to be more around skill cooldown to be more around 24 seconds rather than 30 seconds. So this skill is just really good all around. Now, definitely I would recommend everyone to M3 this skill, and this is probably the main skill that you will be using with her throughout like most of the content. So yes, definitely M3 this skill. We'll talk a bit more about the use cases when we are talking about like her performance in different type of content. So that is skill 2, the skill that you will most likely be using most of the time. And at last we have skill 3, which in some sense I actually consider to be the most important skill for Exia Alter. So the fact is that upon activation, Exia Alter will gain plus 30% attack. Every time she attacks, it will be 5 hits, each dealing 160% of her attack as physical damage. Now, she will gain a summon that if there is a summon when the skill is activated, she will immediately do a splash damage equivalent to 250% of her attack where the summon is, and redeploy the operator that has the highest redeployment time onto that spot. Now this is only ground units, but it will also work for operators like Ella. If you have her module and you can deploy her on the ground, you can do that for Ella. Or if you have white shoes, like white dance shoes in IS, which allow range operators to be deployed on ground, that will also work as well. And obviously you still have to have the deployment limit to actually make this redeployment work. And upon deployment, that operator will gain plus 6 initial SP. Now, this redeployment does not take DP, obviously, but when you retreat the operator, you will actually still get retreat DP refund. So the most obvious thing to do with this skill right now is just deploy like a Vanguard, generate DP, retreat, use extra skill 3, redeploy the Vanguard, and then generate another DP, and then retreat again. That will give you a huge burst of DP, and then you can use that to deploy operators like, I don't know, Wizardell or something, and then the whole stage is just game over for you. That's like the most simplistic way to use it. Obviously, there is more. This skill actually scales with the better ground operators that we get in the future, and trust me, there is actually already one coming within like 3 months. So yes, there's actually really good things to look forward to. This skill has 50 ammos, and every time she attacks, it consumes 5 ammo. But if you have the Lemuel module, which gives her 1 more ammo, the 1 ammo at the end still allows her to do 5 hits. So that is the really interesting like work combination between Exia Alter and Lemuel. So really interesting in my opinion. So that would be skill 3 for you. Now here we go. Let's talk about how she performs in all sorts of situations. So first of all, if you're a beginner, I would actually highly recommend you to bring her to E1 and just use her as is. So at E1, I think she will basically perform just as well as, actually better than the old Exia, the standard Exia at E2 using skill 3, and she will do quite a bit, and then you can focus your remaining resources on operators that can deal like AoE damage that destroys a whole bunch of enemies, like I don't know, Minar skill 3 or Wizardell skill 3. So she's actually pretty good for beginners as well, in my opinion. Obviously she's not meant to be dealing with AoE, she's more of a boss killer in that sense, but I think because of her shield, her quick skill activation, and her barrier with skill 2 is really a great choice for a beginner. If you are old player like me, where you have like, you know, you can just bring whoever you want, you have basically all the operators, you can do whatever you want, I think she's still actually a great addition, when it comes to boss killing. And with skill 2 M3, the total amount of damage is just so high, and you can basically ignore enemies with high defense as well, because 3000 attack per hit allows her to deal damage to most kind of enemies. The total damage from her skill 2 is also just insane. Quick to activate, because only 4 seconds to activate her skill 2 after deployment, so you can just deploy whenever you want. And then comes to IS. Now it's a bit complicated when it comes to IS, because current situation in IS5, she's not the easiest pick. The current meta in IS5 is that we go for Lantern of Hope, I think that's called, and then for that she will actually take 2 wish fulfilled, 1 for a book and 1 for a hand. So she actually takes up 2 collectibles, and then that will delay your chance of getting your time of getting King's collectible. So it's actually a bit hard to recommend her in the beginning. Thank God we do have Mizuki, so you can actually pair Extra Altar with Mizuki, and Specialist Caster team will do pretty well in that front, but it's actually kind of not the most optimized strategy. That being said, she does incredible work at E1 from like floor 1 all the way up to floor 5. She will destroy most common stages. So what would be really nice if you get a decent run is that you will rely on her on mostly dealing with most stages, and you can focus on grabbing operators that you need for endings, which makes her a really great addition for Specialist and Caster team. And also, I would say if you're not going with Lantern of Hope, instead you're going with Talon of Hatred, that is where she actually shines in my opinion, because like I said again, she works really well from E1, and with that you don't have to worry about her consuming all your nodes for wish fulfilled. So you can more rely on her to deal with a lot of stages mid-run, and that will also allow you to just take on more stages more easily, and you can just take stages without thinking too much, and she makes that a lot more easier. And obviously the more combat you take in Talon of Hatred, the better run you have in general. So I think she is really great for that. She's also really great in IS4 and IS3 as of right now. So because of it's just the same stuff that I've talked about with her skill 2 mostly. Quick to activate her skill after deployment, high damage, and because she's ranged as well, so she can ignore a lot of enemies that deal range damage. There are some situations where, like in early phase of a map in IS, you will have a bunch of enemies charging, and she can handle that as well. That makes her really nice in just IS in general. A bit of a spoiler, but she's also really great in IS6. Actually, I think she actually performs way better in IS6 compared to IS5, so look forward to that. I would say she doesn't perform as well in RA, because obviously the single target nature of her just kinda not suited for RA, and she doesn't have any stalling capabilities. So with a lot of bosses in RA, you might want to just do perma stall strategy. She's not suited for that. With SSS, I think she's fine. Her high damage just works really well, especially if you give her a lot of attack buff. She will just scale like incredibly with attack buffs in SSS, so I think she's good for that front, but she won't do so well when it comes to AFK strategies in SSS, which is what I do prefer. So that would be it for most of it. Oh wait, there's CC. I forgot CC, my bad. So CC is, I think, where her skill 3 will ultimately shine in the future, because obviously in the future we will have a lot of situations where having the one operator that will solve the mechanic of that CC, but sometimes you just want another copy of that operator, and having extra skill 3 will solve that problem. So I think she definitely has a good chance for future CC use. So that will be all the major modes that we have. Now, I got a bit of an extra talk when it comes to extra altar. So we all know that power creeping is an issue. Obviously, I don't think extra altar really power creeps, because we have other operators that can do more AoE damage, more like DPS and whatnot. Like Wizardel is still, I think, up the top when it comes to physical damage. But what I think I love about extra altar's design in general is her skill 3. Because this is an operator that isn't just focused on damage but also utility, and she actually scales with future operators that you can redeploy, and that we already have seen, and we can definitely see more coming in the future. And that kind of suggests that she won't actually be outdated when power creep eventually happens if we get better ground units. Instead, she will scale with them, and even then, like, even if her damage becomes, you know, not the most significant in the future, she will still benefit from future operators. And that's what I think is the best thing about her, and that's what I really love to see. More interesting mechanics when it comes to operator skills, and I love her talent and her skill work perfectly with each other as well. Also, her class trait actually can be somewhat fixed with her first talent as well. Like, I love operators that are designed so that each part of the operator can work well with each other and ultimately present a package that seems flawless. And that is what I think Exia Alter is. Flawless. And that is exactly why I would recommend everyone, please do pull her. Skill 2 M3, skill 3 M3, module level 3. Just don't do skill 1 M3 because that's not really worth it. And that would be it. Next video I'm probably gonna see you guys is in the pull video, and hopefully I get really good pulls this time around. I'm still a bit broke right now, so I wish to get them like within 150 pulls. That would be really nice. Please give it to me. So when that happens, I'll see you guys around in the next video. Obviously, I forgot to ask last time, but subscribe, like, even membership, really appreciate it. And I'll see you guys then. Bye.